Hi there,
Hey.
we're Sean and Allison from Spoken Garden, and we're partnering with Eden Brothers to help you in your garden.
Yep, we're going to show you how to plant your nasturtium seeds indoors and outdoors step by step today.
Yeah, but before we get to that, it's helpful to know that nasturtiums are not only beautiful flowers on trailing vines, they're edible and they're great for suppressing weeds.
And you know what, before you plant your nasturtium seeds, you'll need to make sure you have the right site to grow them in, and that includes a full sun location, but they will tolerate a part shade location in warmer summer climates. They also like acidic soils that are well draining, but they will tolerate poor soils too. Now, before we show you how to sow these nasturtium seeds, we want to let you know some more facts about nasturtiums. In general, nasturtiums can be in two different forms. They can grow as a vine, or they can be in a bush form, a small compact bush, which is super cool. Nasturtiums can have flower colors of orange, red, yellow, and cream. The nasturtium we're going to show you how to sow today is called mahogany gleam, and it's more of a red colored, flower colored nasturtium. It's hardy in zones 1 through 10, and it's considered an annual. Mahogany gleam will grow up to 60 inches in length, has a really fragrant flower, and has flat, round, bright green leaves. Now, it'll flower throughout the summer, is really easy to maintain, has average water needs, and is a great pollinator attractor. Not only all this, but it was chosen as an AAS winner. It's also great to grow in containers, hanging baskets, or as a ground cover, and makes a great vegetable companion plant to help repel pests. Like most nasturtiums, mahogany gleam is drought resistant and it's deer resistant, but it is susceptible to powdery mildew.
All right, as you're getting ready to plan sowing your own nasturtium seeds, you actually have two options depending on what you want to do. You can sow them indoors or outdoors. Now, outdoor sowing is always easier, and you can direct sow them right out in the yard in spring after the threat of any frost has passed. But if you want to get an earlier start on your seeds, you can sow them 4 to 6 weeks before your last spring frost. Okay, let's get these nasturtium seeds sown. The first step is to make sure and first soak your seeds in water overnight, or at least for about 8 hours. This helps soften the seed coat and helps the seedling roots break out. Next, it's time to get your soil ready for planting. We're using seed cell trays here, as you can see, and the soil is pre-moistened. The next step is to get ready for sowing, and it's helpful to use a tool like a seed dibber like we have here. This is our tool we make called Dibi XL, and we're going to use it to make small indentations in each planting hole that are 1/2 inch deep. The next step is to fish out your seeds from the water carefully. We're going to use the widger end of our tool here and plant 1 seed per planting hole. Carefully cover your holes with soil. Finally, gently moisten the top of the soil to start the germination process. And that's how you sow nasturtium seeds indoors.
Now, your seeds should germinate in about 10 to 14 days, and with more consistent watering and keeping that soil moist, you'll have a better germination rate, along with keeping that soil anywhere from 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. When you start to see the seeds germinate and you're getting that new growth, you want to give them as much sunlight as you can, up to even 16 hours of sunlight a day if possible, to really get them to grow healthy and even look like this. Now, once they reach about 4 to 6 inches tall, pretty much like you see right here, these seedlings will be ready to be transplanted out into your garden, but you'll need to harden off your seedlings before you actually plant them out in any containers or out into your garden. And hardening off is just a process of gradually exposing your seedlings to your garden's climate over time, and this can be up to a 2-week period. And what happens is you'll take the seedlings like you see here, you'll take them out into your garden for maybe an hour or two every day, and then build up over a 2-week period, having them out for longer periods of time. And then in the last couple days, keep them out overnight so then they can get really acclimatized to your night temperatures, and then you'll be able to plant them out in the garden. When we're transplanting our seedlings out in the garden, first we want to get our spacing down, and to do that we're going to pick one spot where our first seedling is going to go, and we're going to measure 10 to 12 inches away from that location to plant our next nasturtium seedling. We're going to use a Tori Hori knife. We'll measure out 12 inches because we're going to give them lots of room to grow. There's our second planting hole, and then they also need to be planted 12 inches, 10 to 12 inches apart, even if they're going to be in rows or in a big planter like this is. Once we have our spacing, then what we can do is we just nicely and very gently try to squeeze these out and try not to disturb those roots. We're going to take our seedling, we're not going to break up these roots because they're so transplant sensitive, and we're going to just make a quick hole right here. And what we need to do is we need to match this soil level of this seedling plug to the soil level in our container or garden bed where we're planting them. We don't want to plant them too high or too low because that can lead to other problems later on. Very gently tap that down, and there's our first seedling. And now you can see here, we've actually got two plants right here. Normally what we would do with these seedlings is separate these two, but because they're so transplant sensitive, we're not going to do that. We're just going to plant them just the way they are because we don't want to hurt or impact their growth later on after they're planted. And our last step is to nicely and gently water these in so they get that root soil water contact and they start to get established in their new garden space.
All right, let's get these nasturtium seeds sown outdoors. The first step is to actually make sure and soak your seeds in water overnight, or at least for about 8 hours. This helps soften the seed coat and helps seedling roots break out. The next step is to get your soil and your area ready for planting. You can plant your nasturtiums in general garden soil, potting soil, topsoil, or even poor soils. Next is to get ready for actually sowing, and this means spacing and depth for your seeds. Now, nasturtium seeds need to be spaced 10 to 12 inches apart. So we're going to use our hori-hori knife to measure the distance and just kind of mark the planting holes. Next, we need to make our planting holes accurate. Nasturtium seeds need to be sown at 1/2 inch of depth. So we're going to use our dibber tool to find our planting holes that we marked and accurately measure 1/2 inch. Next, carefully dig your seeds out of the water and drop 1 seed into each planting hole. Cover your planting holes with soil. Finally, the last step is to gently moisten the top of the soil to start the germination process. And that's how you sow nasturtiums outdoors.
Now, in the weeks and months ahead, you'll need to consistently water your nasturtiums so you get all that new growth and consistent growth and lots of flowering. Even during drier times of the year, like drought conditions, it's good to water them even during that time so you'll keep them growing and keep them active and continue to flower. Also, make sure not to overwater your nasturtiums because they are susceptible to powdery mildew. Now, deadheading these will need to happen on a continual basis so you continue to promote new flowers throughout the spring and summer. If you're growing your nasturtiums in containers, they'll need to be trimmed back about every 1.5 months or so to help promote new growth and more flowering. Make sure to keep up the weeding around your plants so your new nasturtiums aren't competing with any other weeds for nutrients, water, and sunlight. You can also add mulch to keep moisture more readily available for the plant roots to take up. Mulch will also help insulate the plant roots during the hotter times of year. Mulch is a great weed suppressor and will help you keep up with the weeding. Make sure to watch for pests and diseases on nasturtiums by checking underneath the leaves and on the stems. You can also harvest the leaves and flowers anytime. Just make sure to use scissors when removing them so you don't damage your plants. Now, if you need more flower planting, growing, or harvesting tips, you can always go to EdenBrothers.com and check out their planting guides.
And we hope this video was really helpful for you in planting your own nasturtium seeds. And from us at Spoken Garden and Eden Brothers, thank you for watching.